Welcome back to Dum-Dums and Dragons, where improvisers who've never roleplayed before journey into the world of Dungeons and Dragons. I am the Grand Wizard Bukake, your host. Our heroes have left the fortress in search of food. Juniper studied Butthole's writings to create some laws. Quinny revealed more than he meant to while cheering up Butthole. And Butthole decided that he is a king and a god, though the two are still separate. What will happen when Quinny finally returns home? Find out next on Dum-Dums and Dragons.
Juniper, Butthole, and Quinny, you have set off in search of Quinny's hometown, somewhere that he has desperately been trying to stay away from his perfectly normal, reasonable, non-tragic childhood.
I am squeeing so loud on the inside right now. I'm so excited.
Tyler, what is the name of your hometown?
It's Cornucopia, the town of plenty.
Cornucopia, the town of plenty. Love it. So you're on your way to Cornucopia. Cornucopia is nowhere near the Fortress of Forlorn Hope, unfortunately. So this is going to be a bit of a trek. And it's also the first time since you've left kind of Icewind, or on your way out of the Icewind Dales, that you've really been exposed out here in this world of the undead. As we've described, the Lich Lords of Akka, Grayson Typhus and Emily Typhus, have unleashed the dead of hell upon Faerun. That said, as kind of, I guess the closest parallel would be like Sauron and the Ring Wraiths and that sort of thing. Their attention can't be everywhere at once. So often they'll just leave the undead to kind of wander around mindlessly and do their thing. Other times they'll take full control of a legion and command them to do things. A lot of their attention, as you've been told by Annan and Kron, as well as some of the other people from the fortress, a lot of their attention is focused on maintaining the occupation forces of various cities. So, occupying Waterdeep is not a light task. So the undead there aren't necessarily like the slavering, brains zombies. They're more just like, a legion of the undead that is patrolling and kind of keeping people in line. Of course, this triumph that they've had, this overrunning of the world, isn't certainly not their end game. And knowing that the threat of the Plantiers is still out there, the nation of Akka will not rest. And knowing, as all of you now do, the lengths to which Grayson Typhus will go to gain more power, you can't help but fear what the end game of all of this is. Butthole, for you, of course, your quest to reclaim Akka has been a long-standing one. You're less convinced now than you were that your mother is redeemable, but nevertheless, you are the chosen king of your people, and you have to get them out from under the yoke of the god of war once and for all. Your father may be gone, but his warlike ways remain. Plus, you owe Reginald a vault, so gotta let him get his vault on.
Yeah, and I don't like my stepdad. That guy's fucking terrible.
Yeah, truly. Juniper, of course, for you, the question of what the fuck happened to your body is hanging large in your mind, particularly after Mosefus Dirt's sort of ominous warnings.
Yeah, I think this is like the first time Juniper hadn't really considered it before. It felt so nice being like with another Moss that it was just like, oh, it'll be fine. I don't think she'd really considered the ramifications of like once the Great Collide is like rectified, what that means for her. So yeah, it's a little bit disconcerting.
Also, to some extent, the first time that and this has been true since you all returned to Faerun, but the Great Collide has been slowed to a glacial pace.
Yeah.
We're not under imminent threat as much as we were, though it does still kind of slowly roll ahead. The kind of imminent galactic collapse is somewhat at bay, which gives you a bit of room to breathe at the very least.
Yeah. Let's get fed. let's get everything under control.
Save
and
the world, then the universe.
Destroy Grace and Typhus and such.
Absolutely. Before, of course, turning your attentions to Xanthus and his machinations.
Well, yeah, but one at a time.
Absolutely. And he is the very much more immediate threat.
Yeah.
And of course, Quinny. This is going to be a long road for you, but also too short a road because the road back to Cornucopia is nowhere near as long as you'd ultimately probably like it to be. It's kind of one of those things where it's like you don't particularly relish the destination.
Yeah.
And you haven't been home since you left before going to jail and early on in your adventures before your epic jailbreak after serving your time. And then, of course, meeting up with the Dum-Dums and moving from there. So it's a heavy travel, regardless of kind of the world. But then also you have fucking zombies to deal with. So there's that. So you have kind of the internal struggle of everything that's weighing on you, as well as the external threats. I'm curious to hear, kind of as you pack up and leave the fortress, what you're bringing with you, how you're traveling, all that sort of stuff. So, do you think you'd be traveling light? Would you have a cart? Like, what are we thinking?
I mean, Juniper's got a big old bag of oak leaves. That's for sure.
I think Butthole, I mean, if the group were to discuss it, I think Butthole would be like, here's the deal. Obviously, there's a lot of zombies, so I'm thinking maybe we don't go with a lot of stuff on the way there, and then we just buy carts on the way back. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm sure there'll be plenty of carts there.
And then if we're a smaller group, it should be easier to avoid zombies and those other things that'll be kind of problematic. So we need probably all the gold we can get, because we could put that in the bag of holding, and then we could use that to buy food.
Right.
Yeah.
I have 0 gold.
Reasonable. Quinny?
I have almost 0 gold.
Okay, Goblin Jr. And Goblin Jr. says, snarf, snarf. He has 1 gold piece and 50 silver pieces, because I have that written down. And I'm like, okay, so we may need to loot the castle and take everything that's made of gold inside the Fortress of Forlorn Hope, and we can trade all of that. So candelabras, chandeliers, any doorknobs. Like, it's just stripping every item of value to bag of holding that shit.
Okay, sure. So we can say that over the past couple days, Anne and her team have been working on that. So you have a pretty good store. Quinny, based on what you remember, I think everyone in Cornucopia knows the going price of milk. Obviously, it's been a long time since you've been there, but in rough terms, this should be enough to kind of get you up and going. Also, there is sort of the theory, particularly with Juniper's help, that once you have the appropriate seeds and everything else to actually create gardens here, despite being kind of in an Arctic fortress, like there are places you could use magic to grow.
Right. Yeah.
So this is both we need to stock up, but we also need to set up like self-sustaining things, and ideally like open trade to and from Cornucopia or the surrounding villages. I feel like a lot of the towns kind of in your region, Quinny, are very similar to Cornucopia in that they all produce. You're not sure what the state of all of that will be now, but
yeah, Quinny, you're kind of people in your village, hamlet, town. What size are we talking?
It's farms. It's town would be
all right. So would any of them want to come live here where there are no zombies and they could farm using Juniper's magic?
Look, when I left, nobody really wanted to leave. Nobody wanted, to change their day-to-day lives or anything like that. That being said, it wasn't the end of the fucking world. So, I'm assuming if there's even anyone left, they would probably appreciate the security of, castle walls and
all right, so we've got gold, friendship, and a castle with no zombies. These feel like strong offers. Obviously, we're using all the gold for sales, so I'll get like a simpler crown for the road. Is there anything anyone else would want to bring? Obviously, Goblin Jr.'s coming. He's got his armor. I'm going to wear all my cool stuff.
I think Quinny is bringing just kind of like his usual adventuring gear. He's wearing his Ushanka. He likes the ear flaps for his hat because it's still cold out. And probably just like an extra change of like his like warmer weather clothes, depending on how far south we're going. Yeah.
Juniper's kind of in the same situation. It's like cold stuff to get out of, Icewind Dales and packing light to make time.
Yeah.
Yep. Butthole, I think, would be doing the same thing. He's got his Game of Thrones cloak over his gold armor. He would go to Leanne and coordinate a copper band, probably about a thumb and a half width, that he could just wear as an ultra basic crown kind of thing.
Like a Viking crown where it's just like the band.
Exactly. He may upgrade it in future with stuff found on adventures, but that's enough for this purpose. And he would, before they leave, put Reginald and Bucky in charge of defending the castle. Because between the two of
Reginald.
them, there's magic and enthusiasm.
Easier to please Bucky and Reginald.
Yeah, but Bucky has like all the power and Reginald has all the craftiness. So between the two of them, they can make the calls they need to in this area with like Annan as the third vote tiebreaker.
There we go. Okay.
Sure. Okay. That makes sense. All right. So yeah, you get that all sorted up. That's fine. Again, they were defending the Samsonite post pretty well, so it's not like they're incapable of defending the castle. That said, it is also very hard to find, as you'll recall, and that's kind of part of the point.
Yeah.
Cool. So it sounds like you're all loaded up. Butthole, would you have Leanne add any insignias or sigils to are you getting the Crested Moonhammer on your crown, or is it just a simple band?
Right now, I think it's just a simple band because he's got to figure out with the new Butthammer King of Akka thing. There's a lot of questions about what symbol is his, and he doesn't know yet, which is off-putting. So this will be the crown of the man, and there may be a crown of the god at some point.
Gotcha.
Oh, even
I'll do a full
he's
costume
like,
swap each time.
He's like, this is going to be a headache. I don't know what's happening.
He's going to have to become a quick change artist. Just tear it all away.
Like the front will be the man and the back will be the god, and you can just rotate it depending on which gem is in the front.
Just be a full like
Nice.
Manny faces
He-Man
He-Man character.
paint a face on the back of his bald head and just like turns around.
Oh, here's the king.
Paints a butt, and you have to talk to the butt for the
right,
Butthammer.
Yeah. So I got to keep you away from tattoo parlors for the rest of the series. Good to know.
And Juniper's changes of clothings are like for different weather are just like her persona's clothing.
Okay.
So you might see when she's like a little chilly, but it's not coat weather. She's just wearing like Grandpa Warwick's sweater. Like it's
that makes
that
sense.
kind of thing.
Right on.
Yeah. It's practical and keeps you warm.
Yeah.
Great. All right. So, Ryan, you mentioned off air that Reginald might have one other thing he wants to do before you all leave.
Oh, yes. So down in his basement tent thing, Reginald's like, all right, here's the thing. Mog, you did great, but you got your ass busted. And then also you got your ass busted immediately afterwards. It double happened. But Duck Huckleberry, you're pretty capable. You're in the corner and nobody knows that you're going to do a job for me. So I think you should follow the other heroes and just let me know what happens. And if they get in any trouble, you can bail them out or whatever, because you're a good spy, right?
I mean, sure, boss, I'm better at shooting than spying, but I suppose the two kind of go hand in hand.
All right, we'll follow them around. And then if there's a situation where they're in trouble, that they need shooting or whatever, then do your shooting.
Well, all right. Sounds good. And he kind of holsters his pistol, gives you a nod, gives like a quick glower at Mog, because if Mog hadn't fucked up, he wouldn't have to do this job. Now he has to do this job. And he sets out, and Mog says, yeah, sorry, boss. I tried badly.
No, you got the info. Listen, getting caught happens to everybody all the time, especially me. The important thing is you got the info and you brought it to me, so now we know secrets about Quinny. The important thing now is we need to know secrets about this Bucky character. I don't know what he is, and he seems kind of nice, which makes me uncomfortable.
All right, I'm on it, boss. I'll figure out all the dark secrets there are to know about this Bucky.
If that is his real name.
My God. This goes deep, goes all the way to the top. This seems like a job for Mog Crankshaft. So I'm just doing the singular now because I feel like I don't really have a team.
Yeah, we got to get you like 11 more guys. It's going to be good.
Yeah, all right, cool. So first, Bucky, then more guys. And he nods to you and skitters out of the room, tripping over a bench on his way out, as he's like to do. So with all that said, you make the exit that we discussed last episode, and you begin to head south. How is your marching order on the road?
Quinny will go up front scouting.
Yep.
And then I'm imagining Juniper and Butthole will be kind of moving together because we've got Quinny as the ranging thing. So
yeah, and I think at this point we're all kind of lookouts. No one's slacking on the road anymore. It's
sure, totally.
Yeah.
Is there anything you think you would discuss on this first day? Obviously, being a bit further north and still being in the mountains, you were less likely to run into the undead, only because they're slow up here because of all the cold. So you do have a relatively easy first day, despite the whipping bitter winds. You're all better equipped now, having sort of gotten retrofitted with stuff both from the castle and from the Samsonite outpost. Also, I think you're just more used to it. Much like anyone getting used to wearing cold weather equipment, it takes a little bit of time. But now you know all the cool tricks, like don't take your gloves off because then your fingies get cold. So the first sort of part of the day, first day's march is relatively calm. Is there anything you'd be discussing, do you think?
So Quinny, what's your family like? Are they gonna like having us there? What do they usually like to trade? Like, I think we need to know these things so we can make the right kind of friends.
Scouting ahead doesn't really work if you're up here with me, man.
Yeah, but I realize that you're scouting ahead to avoid talking with us, so that's why Juniper and I are here.
I always scout ahead.
I know, but right now...
Not talking to you is just a perk of scouting ahead.
All right, well then I'll see you at the campfire in an hour. Cut to an hour later. Okay, Quinny, it's campfire time. So...
Quinny's like, how did I get here? What happened?
Time flies when you're scouting fun.
So, like, we want to know about your town and, like, who we're going to meet and what they like so that we can make the right impression. It's important.
Well, I mean, they like, townsfolk stuff. It's all regular stuff. They like farming and working during the day and then, barn dances at night and whatever and eating, cooking, feasting, and then, doing it all kind of again. A little bit, they do trade because they make so much food.
How do you do a barn dance? Because I don't know how to do that, and it feels like this is going to be diplomatically important now.
Oh, we did those in Tomb Slab all the time, but I think yours might be different.
I bet they're not. Barn dances are all the same. Everyone literally basically dances all the same. You're just kind of skipping and jumping around in a circle with your friends.
Can you teach us? Because I know you taught Doddle how to dance. So, like, can you teach us how to dance?
Yes, I would like to know the specific customs of your town.
I have elevated the art of dancing. I am beyond barn dancing now.
Fabulous. Well, I can provide the music. And he will cast, what's this, the cantrip? He will cast thaumaturgy, because he can make, like, the sounds of doors opening and closing and other things. So he can cast it up to 3 times at once. So it's literally musical beatboxing.
Music like brought to you by Stomp.
A door closing and like a bird singing melodically over it. And yeah, it's just Stomp.
Juniper pulls out her pan flute. I'm like, this? She hasn't played in a long time.
Yeah, so now it's magical musical jazz. We got a flute in there. It's happening.
Yeah. And Quinny casts Minor Illusion to add some more music in as well. Because you forget Quinny actually really likes dancing and is good at it. So he's totally fine with just completely showing off and does like a full-on great like jig just like around the fire and stuff like that.
Can you roll me a performance there? So, yeah. I'll give you advantage because it's dancing, which we've established you've put in Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours of practice into.
Performance. That is 15.
15?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hell of a jig. My God. Yeah, as the music picks up, Quinny, you just kind of you give in to the music and flash dance your way around.
Yeah.
Juniper, I feel like you're rocking the flute, while also doing wheelies in the chair and kind of like showing off in a lot of the ways that Juniper may not be fully aware of, but Moss just knows from like her experiences barn dancing. So I think it's kind of one of those like, oh shit, I didn't know I could do this. This is amazing. Plus the spider legs give you a lot of new options.
Oh yeah, spider legs, literally walk like jumping around on her hands. It's fabulous.
the Ushanka hat begins to like influence the dance, and I just start doing like a hopek, or just like the kick, the squat dance and stuff like that. Just, yeah.
Butthole, your friends are very adept at dancing. I don't think dancing is really a Butthole thing. It's definitely in line with what Butthole likes, but I don't think you've ever really had much of an opportunity.
He's only ever danced to seduce
Meryl
Streep. That was it. So I think he starts off just dancing like he was trying to seduce Meryl Streep, which is like dancing without a stripper pole as a stripper while your friends are doing a jig. It does not sync up. And then he starts watching the Quinny dance and picking up some moves there, and he sees what Juniper is doing, and I'm going to roll an insight. Let's see if he can learn anything. Wow. I rolled a 5, but that does become a 15. So all of a sudden, he becomes a jigging stripper. It's not all the way out, but he's throwing in some of the Kopek like squat lunges, and then up into like full body Channing Tatum rolls, and it's got its own vibe now that seems it's PG-13.
The top half of his body and the bottom half are like incongruous movements, like they shouldn't be able to happen.
Yes.
Yeah, the armor is just shifting and like groaning because it's bending and twisting at angles it's not meant to.
Yeah, and then he's doing some spider leg moves, but with spiritual hammers that he can summon to like float around. So it's better because you realize if you'd brought him to a barn dance earlier, it would have been like watching a man perform half of a porno. And now instead, it's just a vaguely pornographic, enthusiastic dance. So he went from rated X to rated PG-13. That nice. Feels better.
And that's how you spend the night. You guys dance. It's not something that the three of you have ever done together before, but at the same time, based on how dire things got in the taking of the castle, the general situation, the general anxieties, it is an incredibly freeing and joyous evening for you all. You can each gain 1 point of inspiration for dancing like no one was watching.
Dancing with my friends. I'm dancing with my friends.
And so, obviously, you take shifts on watch. Can you all roll me perception, please? For your
I can re-roll ones. Yay, Quinny. That's a 2. Fuck you, dice.
I got a 6.
What is it, Tom? Perception,
please.
All right, I got a 9. Goblin Jr. would have taken a shift. Do you want to roll for the wolf, Tom?
Sure. Nat 20. He is the best watchdog.
He is a good watchdog.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I got a total of 7.
7. Okay. So you awake the next morning to a well-tended fire. Goblin Jr., having rolled a 20, has like kept it stoked.
Did he make us breakfast?
Yeah, he did. He's dragged some things up onto the fire.
Somehow there's like fresh coffee. It's like we didn't even bring it.
Yeah. He's got a little kettle going. The problem is because he doesn't have opposable thumbs, all of it's bad. Like the kettle's at like a weird shitty angle where it's kind of like bubbling up and over into the fire. He's just kind of like dragged like a squirrel carcass into the pan. So it's just like crisping on a pan, but he's just seen you do it before and he thinks that's what it is.
Yeah. It's all delicious.
Yeah, I mean, it smells horrific, but it's
Junior, are these croissants? These take more than a day to prepare. These are fresh. How did you do this?
And
crack them open instead of hazelnut filling. There's just mud, like stuff he's missing.
Yeah, as you start to like dig in, you realize he's just like rolled over bread until it was flat, and then just kind of nuzzled it into a loop around some mud. So it's a disaster. It's like when Bender tries to cook on Futurama, but it's very well meaning. But Goblin Jr. also has sort of a somewhat concerned look to his snarfy features. And he, after he makes sure that you've all seen what a good boy he is for starting breakfast, he brings over a what looks to be like a field ration wrapper. So it's just I imagine we're kind of talking like a lembas bread situation where it's just kind of some leaves that have been folded over and tied. But he kind of like nudges that probably to your foot Butthole, and then kind of gestures over his shoulder to the woods nearby.
Right, Butthole would pick it up. He would look at it. He would smell it. He would like peel back a corner and like give a little lick inside. Just
pure
Sherlock
uncut cocaine. Just
God.
like every detective discovers. All right, roll me. Go ahead and roll me. I'm gonna say either a nature. Yeah, let's go with nature, or I could. Yeah, let's go nature.
Nature. 17
Not bad.
at a -1.
Impressive. Yeah, this tastes sort of like peanut butter, seeds. Definitely like something that you could easily pack as kind of a fast protein.
I'm imagining it's not
ration.
like gray water standard, or he wouldn't recognize it as a CA. This is just something standard, like portable.
Closer to what you would have seen hunters make.
Okay.
In terms of like, it's not machined. It's not like. I think honestly, gray water, you likely had the equivalent of protein bars, where they would just like pack a bunch of it and then cut it into like little shortbread squares, Ted Lasso style, and just like make sure that you all had enough stuff. This very much feels like something that someone on the road would just make for themselves as a thing. Honestly, Juniper, it looks like something you would make. Not as well crafted, perhaps, since you're so attuned to nature, but very much a trail ration that someone in the woods would use.
All right, looks like we got some people in the woods. I'm being quiet now, even though we danced for like 3 hours last night, in case they just got here this morning. Goblin Jr.'s looking that way, so I'm guessing they're that way.
Goblin Jr. snarfs to you a couple times, which I think you can generally ascertain to mean that he found it last night. That he's investigated the area. He didn't see anything else, but he found it kind of not so close to the camp that it's there wasn't like a sniper in the bushes or anything, but like close enough to be perhaps concerned.
Okay, so I found it nearby, but doesn't know where they are. Don't know who it is.
Do you think could they be people heading in the same direction we're heading in? Like,
It could be. It could be people heading in a different direction. We don't have a lot. I'm thinking we hang on to this as evidence, and if we find one the next place we camp, then we can start getting worried. Because it is fresh.
A place like this, someone's leaving litter, they're leaving tracks as well.
All right, let's keep an eye out. Quinny, can you watch for tracks?
Yeah, that's fine. And I'll use my warlock ability, Beast Speech. Just lets you cast speak with animals as like a freebie.
Sure.
And I just turn to Goblin Jr. and I say, did you smell or see any other evidence of a presence last night?
No, that was the weird thing. I got a pretty good nose, but
I'll bet.
didn't smell anything. Just smelled this in the morning.
It was literally the only thing you found. That's so strange.
Yeah, right. Kind of weird.
Okay.
Kind
And
of weird thing.
I just turned to the group. I was like, this is a dog, like a wolf tracking prey is like his jam. This is literally the only evidence of a presence that he found, which is very strange.
Snarf.
Maybe
So,
the
supernatural,
forest. Maybe
Magic.
the forest is just giving us breakfast, Quinny.
Yeah,
do you
or
wanna
maybe
eat
the
it?
breakfast, this forest is giving us breakfast, Butthole. I'm going to go scout ahead.
All right, Juniper, do you want half of this forest breakfast?
I should point
mean,
out the bar
sure.
is empty. There's
Yeah, I think that's why Quinny was especially like, yeah, man, that's what this is.
yeah.
This is
There's
an
like
empty wrapper.
traces of it, but it's like an empty protein bar wrapper.
Or do you want half of it?
half of the wrapper?
Well, it's leaves, so you can eat those. You like leaves?
What kind of leaf is it? I look at it. What kind of leaf is it, Tom?
Just
See.
looks to be,
Butthole rips half of it off and eats it. Tom, does it taste good or bad?
tastes pretty bad. Tastes kind of like
Like a
it'd be-
leaf.
Yeah, well, yeah, it'd be sort of a thick leaf, probably dried a bit, so it's also just kind of crunchy and off. Like I'm almost thinking the equivalent of trying to eat a bay leaf, where
It's,
like
Or just stabs
It's-
your mouth.
yeah,
crunchy and bitter.
Well, yeah, sure, okay.
Yeah, Quinny's just like, God damn it. These two, I can't.
and Goblin Jr.'s like, yeah, I like my own butt. That's pretty gross for me too. What are we gonna do with these kids, Quinny? What are we gonna do with these kids?
We got to keep them alive. One of them's a king. The other one's the fucking sheriff.
Yeah, I like that. I like you, Quinny. All right, well, back to it. And he just like snarfs off into the trees. So, Quinny, you are scouting ahead. I assume you're looking for tracks. Is that?
That is yeah. I mean, it's almost a write-off as a possibility, just given that Goblin Jr. couldn't find any. But
Sure.
yeah, I don't think I can shake the need to like keep an extra eye out for evidence of any other.
Okay, can you roll me an investigation, please?
These low rolls. That's a total of 9.
9. As Goblin Jr. said, like you can see there are a number of different disruptions to the woods. Like you can tell that things have come through, whether it's animals or people. Unfortunately, if anyone was here, they've covered their tracks well enough that it just like you can see multiple disruptions, but you wouldn't be able to say which one is worth pursuing. And all of them kind of fall away at roughly the same time. So sadly, no tracks. You are somewhat comforted by the fact that clearly there were something or some things in this area at some point. That's a little bit more comforting than just like it could still be magical, but it seems like there was a physical presence, which is better at least. But nothing you can track, unfortunately.
Whatever it is has to eat, but it looks like it brought its own food, which is weird. So it's not like a predator, like an apex predator, or at least not a predator native to these forests.
Quinny, we can't hear you. You're really far away. You're kind of muttering.
Oh my god. He's gonna fucking get us all killed.
Did you know I have disadvantage on stealth due to my armor?
And with that ringing through the air, you collapse the camp and continue on. I think now that you are a little bit nervous, I think it would be safe to assume that you're traveling a little bit more cautiously. Is that fair?
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
we're
For
also
Quinny
closing
anyway.
in on zombies can be real.
Yeah, like I think
area. So
Moss is like her revolver is like ready to go. She's on the lookout.
Right. So I'll say we're kind of coming down out of the mountains now. You were already kind of in snowy, but with grass sticking through. It's part of the reason the tracking was so difficult, because it was just like you didn't have like clean, fresh snow or
two kinds of terrain coming together.
Yeah. The worst versions of two types of terrain combined. Form of ick. Or as I like to call it, just a Toronto sidewalk in the winter. You are now. You can feel already kind of the fresher breeze and the smell of green living things, which is of course a bit of a comfort after being up in the mountains. That said, on the air as you sort of make your way down the last of the foothills, you can hear the occasional moan of the undead in the distance.
Okay. People are fucking in these woods. Look out.
I mean, they are woods. Obviously, people are fucking in them. And if they don't make a sound, are they really there?
just describes. Oh yeah!
Look out! It's the undead, and they're horny.
Oh, brains!
Yeah.
But all the others like, this truly is hell.
When hell is full, the dead will fuck the earth. Yes, no, you hear just standard non-horny zombie moans as you begin to make. Now that said, they are in the distance. I think you kind of come to sort of a set of rocks near the foothills where you all kind of hunker down to actually try and get a kind of a look in the distance. Do any of you have, I forget, and you always have weird shit I don't know, but does any of you have anything vaguely telescopic or sight enhancing that you might use to kind of scan the horizon?
Best I can do is Eye of True Sight. I don't think it has telescopic abilities though. True Sight specifically is more regarding like magically hidden stuff, magical darkness.
And I don't think I lost my monocle of the owl, didn't I?
That was for night vision, I think.
Yeah, I mean it's for dark. I was just thinking,
but no, because it was on your body that died.
Yeah,
so,
that's
I have my eye patch of the owl, so I can see normally at night through one eye. I would trade that around for people on watch, but it would not help with distance seeing because it's not telescopic.
Yeah, fair enough. So you continue on sort of cautiously. Occasionally in the distance, you can see individual sort of walkers roaming, stumbling around as advertised. They're not. There's no kind of rhyme or reason to where they're going. It just does seem to be kind of that like classic early Night of the Living Dead, where the zombies are just kind of wandering the graveyard in no particular, with no, mission or goal, just existing. And it would be safe to assume that this is kind of the standard pattern that these things are capable of when they aren't being controlled, or when there isn't a clear target, which is both good and bad to some extent. But sure enough, you're able to continue forward, carefully. Quinny, I'm going to get a stealth check from you. Ryan and Laura, I assume you'd be hanging back enough.
Yeah.
That this would be more of a, if Quinny gets in trouble, he'll book it back to you, not, will be over your shoulder.
No, it's Quinny stealthily clearing the path, and we're there as backup, I think, if it's that, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
27.
27. Wow, Quinny rolling a good stealth check. It's such a strange concept. So you're like the wind as usual. You're able to scout on ahead fairly safely. And you're still a fair ways away from Cornucopia, but you're in the right region. And you recognize that you're actually you're not entirely familiar with this area, but you do know, kind of, as I think all the folks from the town would, the local sort of larger town centers. An easy way to think of this, of course, is that there are farms dotting this whole area, but generally speaking, there are a bunch of kind of city centers where you can come for barn dances or for feasts, but also more importantly for farmers markets and trade. So you're coming up on the outskirts, like far outskirts of a region you actually know. And a town you're familiar with, that was kind of, in a lot of ways, the most developed town in your region. It was located closer to the equivalent of a highway, so sort of the end, almost like a food depot or a port in a lot of ways. So kind of a place where the rest of the farm region could send produce and send completed product to be sold outside of the community. It is a town called Treeberry that I think, like, a good mental parallel would be kind of like an Old West town, in terms of a little more developed, on the road, kind of a waypoint. Not somewhere that I don't think you would have necessarily traveled before, but somewhere that you're certainly aware of as kind of a northern, almost border town. The good news is this is very much you're heading in the right direction if you're sort of within sight of Treeberry. But also, more importantly, it'd be a good place for you guys to actually get some cover, possibly resupply. And the danger, I think, from what you've seen of these kind of roaming herds of walkers is, although they are kind of aimless in a distance, if you get caught out there, you're basically just fighting zombies. There's literally nowhere to run or hide, so you're really kind of banking on being able to strong arm these things, whereas at least in a town, they may be able to offer you some assistance or some assistance or guidance or anything else. With that knowledge, you kind of return to the group, and the three of you decide to make for the town. Is there any preparation you want to do before you start? Kind of, again, it's like you found basically the signpost, and Quinny, you're like, right, so down this pathway through a little, like, sort of copse of trees. Beyond that is Treeberry.
Quinny, you know this area, so are there any, like, celebrities this place really likes or hates? Or is there, like, a sports team they're big fans of? I'm trying to think of anything that would help us make an easy in a conversation, in a car, you want to talk about the God of War, and you want to talk about, the blood sports. They're the spike ball team in that area. And, like, if you like them, then you're going to get along with people at the bar. But if you say the wrong team name, I mean, if you're going to come in there with the Neverwinter Nighthawks, then people are going to kick your ass out. And, is there anything like that we need to know?
I know of this place. I've never been here before. But I will say these are, like, country folk. They're not city folk who are really, interested in blood sport. I mean, maybe some of them are. What's the nearest like major city center, Tom?
It's not really anywhere that we've got on a map, so I wouldn't have a name for you. I think it'd be safe to assume that, it's not like Neverwinter's down the road. Like you're far enough removed that,
but like even like leagues away.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look at a map.
Okay.
I will say, Tyler, though, if it helps, Pelor is the kind of like most revered god in this area, being the god of agriculture.
Right.
So that's kind of a pretty universal to some extent. Certainly, all the sort of churches here are likely a mix of sort of more pagan, sort of harvest ritual type things, and in service of Pelor. If you're asking in terms of like a sports team, again, I can go to a map, but
so Quinny will say like, look, these places are pretty out of the way, so no one's really like a dedicated fan going to spike ball tourneys or anything like that. Maybe, somebody took a big journey selling some wares in one of the big cities, but literally in any direction, coming back and saying, oh yeah, I'm a big fan of the Neverwinter Nights now.
Okay, so we don't want a big city fancy. So Juniper, don't do math. Don't talk about advanced politics. Quinny, keep
math should be fine.
Do I do that?
I don't know.
I don't. No, you don't. You're fine.
I'm trying to figure out how to be country bumpkins, and I'm not used to that. I was used to living in a closet where people beat me inside a castle. I'm trying to guess.
All right.
I mean,
stories like that, you should kind of maybe keep a lid on. Those are not endearing anecdotes.
I mean, I was the sheriff of a small town. Like, I think I'm okay.
I think she's gonna fucking rock it.
Then what do I? I'm worried about me fucking this up.
Okay,
I'll be honest.
I'll give you the religious angle. Okay.
Okay.
People around here, pretty big fan of Pelor, god of agriculture, right? For obvious reasons. So if you want to work that angle, go for it.
Okay, so I'll tell them that if they like Pelor, that's cool. But if they don't like Pelor, I'm a god.
I would steer clear of the I'm a god talk.
At least at first.
Okay, yeah, maybe that's more relatable. They'll be like, he's not a god like me.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
Okay, I feel better now. I feel like I've got an angle.
Okay, your angle is you're not a god.
I'm normal, not a god at all.
Well, you're not normal, but all right. And Quinny gets ready to go.
Great. Ryan, did you want to roll a religion check to see what you know about Pelor?
Yeah, I would like to do that.
So those ironic things where I feel like Butthole actually doesn't necessarily know that much about religion.
He's got, I rolled a 14, which actually feels right on the money for what I think he would know about a god, not a religion.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. All right. So Pelor, just one sec. God of the sun and agriculture, obviously from a world without a sun scythe, as we've established. Honestly, I feel like there are a lot of Moonhammer parallels that you would lean on. The ideas of light and warmth and sunshine and growth are kind of what you'd associate with Pelor. A lot of the temples have sort of an agricultural bent to them, grain sort of available, that sort of thing. So, yeah, you don't know too much, but you also kind of know enough that happily, like, Pelor could easily be a cousin of Moonhammer and Sunscythe, which is leagues better than, like, I don't know, it's Ogma, and you know nothing about Ogma other than what Alan has told you about growing up, which was very little.
Yeah, no, cool. Yeah, this feels right. All right, so I think, Butthole's good to go.
Great. So with that, the three of you kind of make your way down the path towards the town. And as you kind of breach the trees, you're kind of expecting to hear calls of warning, given the nature of things, odds of this being kind of an armed town are high, because it is sort of like there was signage back up on the road, but it is through the trees. So you're not entirely surprised to not kind of immediately get jumped. But as you kind of make your way through the trees into the large clearing sort of off the highway where the town is, You find an eerie silence greets you, and just the creaking of wood. And as you kind of step out, you can see that the front gate has been barricaded crudely and painted very haphazardly is "Do not enter, dead within."
This
Okay.
hits Quinny pretty hard because, like, who wants to visit, their hometown, the place where they grew up during the zombie apocalypse, just to kind of see how that's been impacted, and to see how this place has fared is really troubling. He doesn't want to have to look at like his mother's desiccated, zombified face or something like that. He goes real quiet and kind of just doesn't contribute much at this point. Just really kind of in his own head. He's spiraling a little bit. I think this is super bad news.
All right, this is clearly not great.
Nope.
But tactically, we need some safe houses to be able to come back to on the way back to the Fortress of Forlorn Hope. If this isn't safe, then nowhere's safe. But if the dead are inside, how big was this town, Quinny? Like, how many people do you think are here? Based on, can we ballpark, Tom, of what we would think of, like, the size of the town would be in terms of people inside?
If the maximum number of dead we could be facing, essentially.
Yeah, this would probably be a town of a few hundred. Again, like,
Oh, that's fine.
there aren't centralized. A lot of these places, including Cornucopia, have a much larger population. But keep in mind, these towns are functional. They're not necessarily places where people live. They're, in this case, somewhere people come to trade. So again, if we're thinking of a frontier town, there's like a saloon, a general store, shops, and like a clear, like beyond the gate are several kind of abandoned, because you can see in through the gate. The gate isn't like massive or anything. It's almost more like what you'd see at like a logging camp, where it's just like something you can swing shut to stop random creatures from wandering in the night. You can see farmers' market stalls set up kind of facing outward. In modern parlance, this would really feel like a side of the road corn stand, where like, hey, we're on the road. We could stop for some food and some drink, maybe some refreshment and rest. Oh, you know what? Treeberry's on the way. We'll just stop by there briefly and then go. It also, in a lot of ways, stood as a bit of almost like a blocker for the rest of the sort of farmlands, so that they didn't have to constantly have like tourist wagons rolling through and other things. Like it's kind of don't worry about the farms. Like, yeah, all the stuff you want from the farms is here. So probably a few hundred, but the odds of all of those people being in town at any given point other than on a market day are low. And from the looks of things, like there are certainly some bodies visible from here that are dead. But it's not, like, the place looks rough, but it doesn't look like a slaughter happened here. It just kind of seems like eventually whoever was trying to maintain it gave up and fell back, which, Quinny, would make sense to you, given that there's farmland beyond here, which is wider and perhaps easier to like disappear into a farmhouse somewhere than try and hold a location on the edge of a highway. So all the concerns you're feeling for your home and your family still incredibly valid. But this would also likely be the first place hit if random zombies were wandering down a road. So it makes sense to you that this sort of almost gateway to the rest of we're going to call them the fertile fields, just so we have a name for them. But it makes sense that the gateway to the fertile fields would be kind of hit first.
Okay. So, Tom, this is always a weird thing, which is like I have a power that includes a mechanic that I don't want to discuss in a meta way to try to game the system, but it's also challenging to describe it to other players when I don't know. So I've had some upgrades to my Destroy Undead.
Oh, hey.
So anything challenge rating 3 or lower, the power of Butthammer for 30 feet in all directions can basically destroy if they fail a test, kind of thing.
Oh, nice.
I'm imagining zombies might live in that, because I feel like he'd know if his power could destroy a zombie or not, or are these like super zombies, essentially, is the question.
You will discover a mix as you go, largely because
It's the orc army scale. The bigger orcs that are like the lieutenants are nastier than the foot soldiers.
Kind of, yeah. The way to think of this is a bunch of bodies punch their way out of graves, but then a bunch of bad undead hombres got loosed from hell. So you've got like a mix of, this is like a shambling corpse from a farmer who lived down the road, who punched his way out of a grave and is shambling around. And you've got like, this guy was atop, this was Achilles at Troy. But I also think, Butthole, you'll be able to ascertain what that feels like pretty quickly. I also think if the army's being controlled, that's a much different story than if they are just shambling
randos
around
on the street.
So I think safe to say then, with that in mind, if you're looking at this town, you can see zombies shuffle kind of between buildings from time to time. These do just look like the local dead. You can see a few that are fresher. Again, we're kind of going by Zombieland rules in as much as recently dead, probably faster, can run, do all that. Long dead, shuffling because your body's broken down a bit.
Is there a bell tower in this town, Tom?
Yep. There would be. There'd
all right.
Probably be like a small, like, again, this is a very like functional town, so it's not like an impressive tower, but yeah, like think a small building with a tower with a bell, largely because they have to announce when it's open and when it's closed. So
that makes sense.
Yep, bell tower with a sort of small base that operates probably almost as like an information center. I don't think it's like a town hall situation because, again, people don't really live here; they just come here to sell. But a little place to, almost like the farmers like association bureau, like, come here, let us know your wares, blah blah blah. This is again a very functional market town, not a livable space.
So if we want to clear this place out, the power of Butthammer can destroy zombies. Like if I can get in the midst of them, I can blow them up. And there's a tower with a bell. So if we can get over the wall, and Quinny, you can sneak up to that bell tower or whatever, ring the bell for a bit, let all the zombies come and climb around that tower, then I can just charge in with Juniper and blast them with the power of the butt hammer, and that should take care of most of them. Then we just deal with the stragglers, and the town will be cleared out.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So does that feel good for everybody?
You two are like zombie repellent, right? Like you're bad news for the undead, both of you, right?
Yeah.
Not for the undead, really. More for fae and fiends, but.
Okay, so if there's a fae or fiend, Juniper's there. Otherwise, Juniper's watching my back, and I'll use the butt hammer powers to just blast these undead bastards to hell. Oh yeah, they can go to hell. It's us who can't. Yeah, so to hell or heaven, not their fault. But yeah, we'll blast them.
Okay, yeah, sure. I'll see about getting in there.
Oh, before we do this, Quinny, when you get up on the wall, can you look around to make sure that when we ring a bell, we don't like summon an army that's nearby? Because then we can come up with something sneakier.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, I should have thought of that. Yeah. Sorry. I'll keep an eye out. Yeah.
Are you okay? You seem kind of distracted.
I'm great. Let's do this. This is a good plan.
Okay. Yeah. You got this, buddy. You got this. And he'll just slap a hand on Quinny and give him some guidance in a way Quinny won't know. Just sending him up that wall.
All right, Quinny, can you go ahead with an acrobatics, please?
And you get to add 1d4.
D4. Where's my D4? There we go. Hey, a 2. So 15 plus 2 plus 15. 32 for acrobatics.
Up and over you go. So you scurry up the wall and kind of leap down on the other side. I assume you're going to check for armies in the bell tower.
Yeah, the highest point would make the most sense. Yeah.
So you land on the other side amidst the market stalls. You can still see some produce rotting in them. There's kind of that fetid smell of sort of that gross, like sludgy liquid vegetation. And you've got sort of 3 main ways you can try and approach the bell tower. There's just straight through the center of the market. Again, there are zombies kind of stumbling around, but they're not packed in tightly enough that, it'll be too much of an issue. It's more of the dodge between them, avoid the grasping hands. You can try and move through the buildings. There are, as I said, like a saloon and On the side you're on, I think probably just the saloon. On the other side, there's like a general store provisions thing. So you can basically do the Gears of War, like
Right. Yeah.
press A and jam the stick in one direction, like flip to another cover.
Yeah.
So you can go through either of those routes. Alternatively, you can try and go around behind the buildings if you're looking to kind of circumnavigate altogether. The danger there being there is kind of more greenery and trees in those directions, which could lead to unexpected surprises.
Can I ask what the path over the buildings looks like? Rooftop
sure.
style.
You can get most of the way there. Unfortunately, the bell tower is far enough away from the saloon that you can't like jump between them. But given your aptitude for springing and striding, you might be able to attempt it. Just they aren't like wedged together Assassin's Creed style where you just parkour over the rooftops. But there's no zombie on the roof. There's no zombie fiddler to be seen. So you've got a bit of clearance that way if that's the way you want to go.
I'll go as far as I can by rooftop.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So kind of spring up to the roof. You still have your boots of string. Spring starting, right? Yeah, great. So you make your way across. You can see there is an open space in front of the bell tower. There are a couple of overturned carts. You can tell that there's sort of like a crude barricade has been made around the front door. Think like a classic kind of knock over the wagons, reinforced with some barrels, just something you could fight from behind if you had to, or hide behind. The door is closed to the tower itself. And sure enough, there are a number, we'll say 6 zombies kind of within sight shuffling. Now that you're up here, you can see there definitely are more in the woods, kind of bouncing up against the walls of the town. And there seem to be some in the buildings. Not as many corpses as you would fear. It doesn't, again, seem like the town was overrun, or it does seem like the town was overrun, but not that the town was massacred, if that makes any sense.
Okay. Can I see the top of the bell tower from here?
Yep.
How far away is the top of the bell tower, would you say?
Let me see here. Bell tower itself is probably about 30 feet away from you. And if we're talking verticality, it's probably it's not huge. Like, it's built by halflings in the middle of the woods. So probably like a 3-story building. So
okay. Then that's well within the range of this spell that I will try to use.
Sure.
I'm going to use Dimension Door.
Cool.
Yes.
Which enables me to teleport in any direction that I can see or even like describe if I've been there before, but I can't see it kind of thing. Within 500 feet. So this sounds like it's well within range.
Yeah. Go get that viewpoint.
Yeah. So I'm just going to blink out of existence on top of the saloon and then reappear at the top of the bell tower.
Great.
Does it make a bamf sound a la Nightcrawler, or what sound does your Dimension Door make?
That's a good question. I think because it is hell magic, so Bamf would be appropriate. Yeah, let's make it Bamf. Yeah.
Bamf.
Bamf.
Yeah, just a little.
That kind of? Oh, it's a...
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not like a Bamf.
No, it's
I
not.
kind of like...
Not someone yelling the word.
Not that Pop-Tart commercial. It was like, Bam!
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Tyler, you just dragged a skeleton out of my closet. Oh, man, I forgot about that. All right, so you Pop-Tart door your way to the viewpoint. You hit triangle to synchronize. You can now see a little bit further. From the top, there's certainly no army within, spitting distance that you should be worried about. You can obviously see more undead beyond, sort of leaning into the fertile fields. You're far too far away here to be able to kind of like get an eye on cornucopia. I think we're really thinking, like, I've always imagined this in very like shirey terms. So it's a lot of like gentle rolling hills, and as a result, it's very, very difficult to get a bead on the town. Yeah. But you can definitely see zombies as far as the eye can see, and there's certainly more beyond the town. But the back gate is also closed, and they do seem to have kind of penned up almost create a plug at the mouth of the fertile fields. as best they could on their way out.
Okay. It just occurs to me to take a look inside the bell tower before I ring this thing. If I can, I'm assuming there's like stairs leading down or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, if you're up on the roof, you can just kind of like swing down and in. Or at least like peek down.
I'll need to get in to like ring the bell anyway.
Yeah, and the bell is exposed. Like it really is like an old like basic church. So the bell tower itself is open to the elements. There is sort of a small room as you lean down and in. You can see kind of a massive old bell, certainly well worn, well built, which doesn't surprise you, given that I think like so much of the halfling culture in the fertile fields circulates around like good food and good experience rather than material things, with the main exception being anything related to the trade. So having a sturdy bell, very important. Having good farming tools, very important. Carts and things, as long as they're functional, like they can get kind of cruddy and that's okay. But if I need a scythe, it's going to be a fucking good scythe. If I need a plow, it's going to be a good plow, and so on and so forth. Right. Beneath it, you can see there is sort of like a small room where the bell can be rung. And it's strange because you see yourself staring back at you from this room, somewhat fantastically drawn, but there are a number of pictures of you tacked up to the walls in this small booth. You can also see more of these rations, as well as a quiver of arrows, and what seem to be kind of some maps and assorted documents.
What the hell? Did Bucky live here? Do these pictures look like me as I was, or me more like now, where I'm wearing like my like darker gear, my eye patch, scars?
So it's hard to tell from here because you're like on top of the roof,
right,
peering down inside. If you want to actually go in and investigate, you certainly can. You don't see anyone. Like it's not like there's someone sitting there sharpening a knife. But yeah, it's up to you.
I'll activate Ring of Invisibility out of an abundance of caution as well, and head down there.
Great. So you slip into the chamber. I should, of course, say that there is a ladder to get down into the building proper. Like it's not like this is some magical room that's cut off from ground floor. And on closer investigation, you can see that it's like an oddly heroic sketch of you as you were, but like slightly square jaw, almost the not quite the Che Guevara looking up to the sky piece, but almost like someone tried to draw you as Steve Rogers, like just a little bit more heroic. And on a majority of these flyers, someone has they seem to be mass printed, and for some reason they have the header Quinny Days and a date that is several months past. Amongst the documents, you can see there are some that seem to have been amended, almost graffitied over to imply things like eye patch, but they're on both eyes. There's some question marks. You can see kind of like a number of pins in a map. But generally speaking, all of the images here are most clearly of you pre-hell.
I think it's just like, what do you say to that when you? I think when he's just there looking, taking it, just like, huh. All right, I am not equipped to break this down. I got a job to do, and he'll go ring the bell. Just like that. That's a weird room. I don't want to be in that room right now. I'm going to go ring the bell.
And with the ringing of the bell, the undead begin to slowly shuffle towards the bell tower and gradually begin to surround you.
This episode of Dum-Dums and Dragons features the voices of Ryan LaPlante at the Ryan LaPlante on Twitter, Tyler Hewitt at Tyler_Hewitt on Twitter, Laura Elizabeth at EL Hamstring on Twitter, and our DM Tom McGee at McGeeTD on Twitter. This episode's sound was edited and mixed by Laura Hamstra, and Dum-Dums and Dragons logo is by Decapitated Markers at Decapitated Marker on Twitter. Our theme songs are And Now for That Massive Coronary and Skipping Through the Orchestra Pit Part 1 by Peter Gresser, and our ad music is No Control and Chiefs by Jazzar, JAHZZAR, all available at freemusicarchive.org. When it comes to Dum-Dums and Dice, you can visit our website at dumdumdice.com. Our Twitter and Instagram are at dumdumdice, and on Facebook at facebook.com/dumdumdice. But most importantly, we've got merchandise at redbubble.com/people/dumdumdice, or you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/dumdumdice. That's DUMBDICE. And tune in next week for more Dum-Dums and Dragons. Dum-Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time. Christian Menicola, the Half-Blind Prophet. Christopher Little, Sue 1, George Dolby. One True Artistry, Orion Birchfield. Lord Abradovic, Noel Lewis, Scott Garland, Anthony Griffin, Benjamin V, Gavin and Abby McDonald, Cade Peters, Richard Cranium, Anna Zed, Eric Williams, Logan, Fire Unfriendly, Acrix, Cameron Ezel, Grandma Likes D&D, Alan, Austin Nut Powers Fry, Stabby Stranger, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.